Yeah, and welcome everybody, and thanks to DTU for hosting this event. As Flemming introduced, I will talk about task 1 in the IEA PVPS work. And basically task 1 is strategic task, it's knowledge sharing, and we have some reports that are obligated to distribute each year. So basically we serve as an expert group for the EXCO as a think tank, making strategic analysis and are looking into the future market and potentials. And basically we're trying to reach as many people as possible abroad, all sectors and stakeholders within the PV sector. Basically in 2025 we have been focusing on this trend, and also we will continue bringing information like basically previous year, but also looking into the challenges that are seen in the branch. The 2 reports that we are making, it's like a trends report. It's which way is the market moving, what is the potential of the PV, barrier resolution tools, and necessary policies, etc. So it's really widespread. And in our work, we're also reaching out for all the other tasks in the IEA PVPS, because that's basically also where all the experts are that has deep inside knowledge of these issues. So to some extent, we're generalists, but each of us also has a feeling on what's going on in the market. The other one is a snapshot that is more like digging down into subjects that are related to each year. As Flemming mentioned, the PV installations worldwide is now above 2 terawatt and will was in 24 above 2 terawatt and will reach 3 this year. Flemming also mentioned in Denmark we have around a little less than 5 gigawatt installed right now. And that's if you're looking at typically at the capacity that are registered at the DSOs or the utilities in Denmark, and that's the AC capacities. And typically, if you then look at what could the potential be, you have to look at the installed modules capacity, which is typically much higher. And during the last years, we have also seen the trend that the difference between the DC and the AC, the gap is much bigger because we have much more DC power installed in the plants, capacities up to 1.6 or even above compared with the inverter capacity, both for utilities scale projects, but also for rooftop projects. Some of it's for technical issues, and some is basically just for having the plant performing as good as possible. So there are some numbers that are a little bit uncertain in all the statistics that we are looking at. For China example, we see that in 24 the market was like 300 or 300 and almost 60 gigawatt installed capacity, and the difference is basically this spread in numbers that are uncertain, but also of course the reliability of the data we are able to collect from each country. This one Flemming basically was indirectly mentioned how it has been going during the last year. This is the trend for Denmark, how much wind and solar power is produced into the grid and for each month. These numbers can be found on the Danish Energy Agency's website and are regularly updated. So we are around of these 60% in some of the quarters right now, a little less behind last year. The solar radiation this year has been good. Wind is not that good until now. Flemming also indirectly showed this one. This is the installed capacity per year, and we saw that almost 1 terawatt was installed in 24, and we will reach a terawatt this year. And also we see that PV is the dominant installed capacity, also looking at other renewable energy sources. The installed capacity, Flemming mentioned, China is the world number one installed PV market, but 43 countries has at least installed 1 gigawatt in 24. So the market is really growing. And 23 countries have installed more than 10 gigawatt. That means more than doubled the installed capacity in Denmark. And these numbers will only rise. This one was the one Flemming showed, so I'll skip that. But we see the market sizes, and especially the red curve, which is China, you see dramatically increasing year from year. We see Europe, the US, and Asia, the market size of these markets are of similar sizes, more or less. And then there is like the rest of the world. But from year to year within these markets, it's very different which country is actually the most active. For 24, 25, it was in some of the Asia region, actually a country like Pakistan installed a lot of capacity. Basically module going from China into Pakistan due to a lot of I would not say do-it-yourself plants, but initiatives by local people making plants. And we see the annual installed capacity here, where we can see that in 24 that Pakistan is coming, within top 10, more than even Spain. And Germany, which is the largest European market. We are not in reach of any of these numbers, so we are not on these statistics. A snapshot of the global PV market can also be shown in this figure. And again, we see, China is the dominant market. But we also see that Africa, solar-wise, it's a huge potential. It's not been utilized yet in installed capacities. And we have regions like South America, North America. There are several states in the US that, really don't have any PV yet. But let's see how that will go. By segments worldwide, there we see some difference in the Danish market, that some markets has more rooftop systems than utility scale systems. So it's very different from country to country, but also it's also very policy driven, that some countries have still huge incentives for rooftop systems, and that's of course a market driver that will bring installation in this direction. Whereas markets like Denmark, where there are more or less no subsidy for PV, then it's more market-based, and large-scale plants have some advantages there. PV now generates more than 10% of the energy consumption in the world. So give it a hand. So it's really going straight forward, and it will increase also in the year to come, even with all the challenges that we are looking into in the futures. And 27 countries are over 10%. And some of the countries you can add actually the unutilized energy that are in some of the plants that basically are due to curtailments in the system. That means energies that are not being able to be delivered into the grid because of utility bottlenecks. And then there is also some technical curtailments in some of the installed PV plants due to technical reasons. But there are measures to overcome these internal in the PV plants. We see now the trend is to install large-scale battery systems behind the meter in the PV plants to store the electricity in the daytime and inject it into the grid at a later stage. So we can have sun when the sun is going down in the night. Penetration per capita. We have countries that are almost at around 1,500 watt installed capacity. per person. It's Australia and the Netherlands, actually. So let's see how that competition will go on. Regional highlights. I'll just have to check. Okay, I'm a little bit behind schedule, so I'll skip this. Fleming talked about manufacturing and trade. China is the dominant manufacturer in the PV business. More than 90% of the value chains within the modules production is in China. Other countries are trying. Europe are trying. The challenge in some of the business right now, especially in the module production side, is that the module prices are so dramatically low that if you analyze the cost structure of a solar module, it seems that some of the countries or the producers are selling it below production prices. And this is basically also due to, as we can see in this slide, the green is the manufacturing capacity, and the yellow line is what is actually produced, and then we have an installed capacity that are less. So some modules we are not being able to capture where are they, but we can at least see that the production capacity is dramatically higher than what is being produced, which means there are some potential that are not utilized, which is a cost factor in the whole business. So we will see module producers still go down in numbers in the year to come. The upstream PV sector, also, this is basically main components in the solar panel is the silicon, how much the market share in different countries. Evolution in prices going down. It's more or less stable with some small ups and downs right now, for the module at least. Key policy instruments used around the world. I'll also skip that because I have too many slides. Challenges is curtailment and grid congestions, is the data, cybersecurity, the NIS2, workforce and skills in some countries also, and the manufacturing imbalance that I talked about before. So we need to have looked at policies, technology integration, location of production, sector coupling. We need basically to utilize the energy produced from the solar when it's produced also. And this is just the figures of the negative prices or the zero prices in Denmark, which of course is also due to too much wind or too much solar injected into the grid, which is a challenge for future projects. The annual growth is basically correlating the curves if we look at the EV sales or production and the PV capacity. So they will follow. And then it will be exciting to see how 2025 will be in numbers for the EV, because most of the new cars today are EV is in the Nordics at least. Key trends, basically this is the slides from last year. It's still the same trends. It's dual use of PV systems. It could be agri, it could be floating. This was the agri. And the BIPV. It's still niche markets, it's still something that is ongoing, and it's still something that needs to really show the potential and be a larger player than we have seen until now. The dual use of the PV systems, sustainability, recycling of modules, recycling of components. We have seen a lot of silver in the earlier days being used in PV and still. And we also see right now rising silver prices going skyrocket high. So there will be potential for reducing and recycling silver also in old modules. The overcapacity, climate resilience. And I think that was it.